welcome to a brand new spoiler review episode here for House of the Dragon on a special Geek Bites brought to you by the
Geek Buddies! Hey!
It's been a hell of a weekend for all three of us. So we're coming back here on a Monday to talk about probably one of the most, how can I say this? One of the most kind of chill, but slightly, in my opinion, disappointing episodes this season. This is episode 6 here, Smallfolk, directed by Andrzej Perek, written by Eileen Shim, and of course, Ryan Condal as well. But we're going to break it all down here. All the spoiler stuff that happens in this episode, it's all going to be talked about here on this particular review. So if you haven't seen it, go and see it. If you have seen it, stick around. Or if you don't care, stick around. We're going to break it all down and spoil it for you. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor, and also a voiceover artist.
Hey!
Because something that I recorded back in December, I think is going to be hitting in just a few weeks.
Nice.
Hey.
Nice. Good job, buddy boy. Good job. But we are here to talk about episode 6, The Smallfolk. Michael, this one is really interesting. We have stuff on the green side of things, certainly seeing what rule is like under Aemond. We have some issues going on with the Smallfolk who are easily manipulated into hating Rhaenyra, and then food comes to make them hate Rhaenyra. Love Rhaenyra, and food comes to make them love Rhaenyra even more. But of course, we also have Alicent being kicked off the council. We have her asking about her son. And then we go to the Blacks, Rhaenyra walking around that castle, stomping around that castle, wanting to do something, slapping lords, trying to pair dragons with people who have some semblance of Targaryen blood, but also starting an illicit romance with a mistress of whispers. I don't know how you'd say, the mistress of whispers, I guess. And then, of course, we have stuff with Corlys and his family and his bastard sons. And then Aemond off having more, Daemon having more and more of these visions and getting closer and closer to Alys Rivers being the new Melisandre. So, Michael, your thoughts on this particular episode 6, as we get into the final 2 episodes starting next week. Yeah.
Well, it definitely feels like the calm before the storm. I don't disagree with you. I mean, look, I think even an episode of House of the Dragon that is, I don't know, I'd say disappointing, but kind of like, this was the first one where I was like, okay, let's pick it up. Let's pick it up. Let's pick up the pace. And it's really because, I mean, we'll get to the Daemon of it all in a minute, but even in addition to Daemon, this episode is really the everybody stuck episode.
Yeah.
Like, Rhaenyra is mad that she's stuck in that castle. Alicent is mad that she can't do shit anymore because all of her plans have she planned herself right out of being able to do anything. Yeah. And Daemon is still on his Burning Man acid trip. So like everyone is just kind of stuck where they are as we're gearing up and putting these final pieces in place for the last 2 episodes. And I think this was the episode where I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good with everybody being stuck. I want them to unstuck themselves. So I do see that, like, with all of the plans that they've laid out, between the plans for the Smallfolk having to get to a certain point, having to wait for, is the Riverrun guy the Tullys? Who is it? Who died?
The Tullys.
Yeah. The little Tully's got to like step into his role. Like, there was a lot of things that I wish maybe they had sort of had those things moving a little bit further along earlier so that this could really pick it up. But as we do know from Game of Thrones history, that penultimate episode is usually the penultimate episode. So if the worst thing that we can say about this season is this episode was a little bit like, let's get things moving, while still having some pretty big moments and some pretty cool things, I'll still feel good about it. But yeah, I definitely felt that, okay, let's go. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, what'd you feel, Shannon? Do you feel like it was a little bit stuck in the mud? Even though they had to lay the groundwork for stuff, as Michael said, next episode being the penultimate episode, they had to make sure everything was solidly in place and you knew where everyone stood and what their anger and angst is, so that we can explore it in the next episode with probably some big dragon battles. As we know, Lannister and Criston Cole are heading over to Harrenhal there. What did you think of this particular episode?
I think I probably enjoyed it more than both of you. I mean, I do agree that this was a very static episode, that in terms of forward progression, we're not getting a lot. But looking at the things that we did get, I mean, just exploring those interpersonal relationships, I really enjoyed it. I really like the fact that as you know, we hear like the Reigns of Castamere theme. I mean, this is one of the things that I love about this show is because Game of Thrones built up this really impressive catalog of theme music that they're able to access that and use it, and it gets a reaction, at least from me as an audience member. I'm like, oh, these people, that's who we're watching right now. The Lannisters have always been little shitbags. I mean, as you could tell from the way that Jason interacted with that guy at the Golden Tooth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking about it. Like, could there have been an action scene in this? I mean, we got a little bit of a chase scene at the end. Like, could there have been an action scene? I'm like, maybe, but I don't know if the build was there, if the players involved we would have cared as much about. Yeah. So I think, again, I don't disagree that it did feel a little Stillwaterish, but I also enjoyed what we got.
Well, and I do think it's important because, I mean, and we've said this multiple times throughout the season. I don't think this is a matter of, it was a talky episode. I wish that there had been a big battle. Like, it's not that, because there are plenty of episodes of House of the Dragon that are all talk, and we come out of it being, holy shit. This was and again, I think it is in the nature of where we are going. Right. This was the nature of not, like, Aemond was pissed about something and he didn't want to do it. Aegon is literally stuck in bed. Larys was stopped from moving his stuff forward. Alicent is stopped from doing everything. Rhaenyra is stopped from doing anything. Rhaena is stuck up in the Eyrie. So I think it's more a matter of, aside from a couple key moments that were really big, it's just that the character was stuck. And again, I'm not mad at the episode about it, because I enjoy seeing all of these people butting up against their obstacles, and I think it is going to pay off. But I think what John is talking about like, well, I just feel like there was like, even like the Otto Hightower of it all, which was interesting, Aemond being like, bring Otto back, but Otto's nowhere to be found. So like, there's a lot of like, everyone is like, I can't move forward on the board, and I'm frustrated, which in the world of Westeros, frustration usually leads to horrible things and destruction. So we will see where that goes.
And that's what I was going to chime in with. This is one of those like necessary episodes that you have to have sometimes in certain shows, because you have to really see the anger and frustration, as Michael was alluding to here just a few seconds ago, the anger and frustration of all the characters. Like, what, I want to do something, and so what's that going to lead to? And even with the Addam of Hull getting, connected with Seasmoke, that's born out of a frustration of wanting more, right? Even he is stuck where he's at because his brother won't go and try and get more from Corlys. And so, as you said, Mike, everyone is stuck, but we need to see why they're stuck, so that when they make these impulsive decisions, when they make these rash movements, when they go up and make these decisions that you question, you understand why they did it. And so, as it is a bit of a slow episode, again, the talkiness is irrelevant, because this season we've seen numerous talky episodes that have been just thrilling. This one was a little more slower, but you understand, we'll probably look at it differently once the season is over as a necessary episode.
Sorry, one thing. Did you all notice that the Lords of House Tully are all named after Sesame Street characters?
Oh, yeah.
Grover and Oscar. Yeah.
I never noticed that before until they were in succession. I was just like, oh, no.
No. That's been that is George R.R. Martin. That is a well-known George R.R. Martin little moment.
I can't wait to meet Sir Bert and Sir Ernie. I'm really looking forward to it.
I want to see Elmo Tully. All right, let's get into the Greens here. As I mentioned earlier, they're living under Aemond's new rule. We see him make some bold military moves on the council, ladies, as he orders Cristen and Gawain to attack Harrenhal from one side, and Jason Lannister there to attack from the other, who arrogantly called for Daemon to join him, as Shannon referenced there. And Aemond will arrive with Vhagar when he feels like it. When I want to challenge my brother, if he dares to challenge me. Where have I heard that before? Aemond does make one renegade decision, though. He wants to treat with the free cities in order to break Rhaenyra's blockade, the Triarchy, and this sends everybody into a not a good place because they think it's a bad idea. Alicent really is the vocal one about this situation not happening, and he eventually kicks her off the council while he's complaining the whole time about running things. What is it about sitting in the seat of power that turns these men of action into whiny Hamlet babies? I'll never know. Later on, he rejects Larys's not so subtle overtures to be the hand in favor of Otto. Just then, Aegon, the maester comes in and tells them that Aegon is breathing on his own and talking, and this spurs Larys into action, but it first spurs Aemond into action, who goes to essentially intimidate Aegon by leaning on his wounds, leaving him with that ball that signifies that you're the king, and essentially intimidate him to stay silent about everything. But Larys later on goes and talks to Aegon rather, and essentially uses his own personal experience to win favor with him. I don't know how much of this to believe. I don't know how much of this is true. A lot of Richard III, shades of Richard III here, but that tear he dropped, that's a nice touch. That was a nice touch. And at the end, Aegon whispers, "Help me." And then we hear about Daeron from Gawain there, who was talking with Alicent. Well, there's a wonderful scene there between those two actors. I need to see Freddie Fox much more on this damn show. It is frustrating how much he's on the fringes, but we hear that he's a 16-year-old teen who's not writing his mother as often, but he's really good with his music, and the ladies are going to love him. And that's everything that happens there on the black side of thing. Michael, your thoughts on all these things that went down here and life under Aemond's rule? And we'll leave the small folk till later because that's connected more to the green.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks being under Aemon's rule. I mean, but I think what's interesting here is I think what was really interesting about the request for him to show up with Vhagar is, as Shannon said, the request was douchey. It was a Lannister request, which comes across as a demand. Like, it was like, show up. Hey, King Regent, get your dragon over here. And so even Alicent says, like, your annoyance is warranted. But everyone on the council is kind of saying, look, we get it. That was douchey. He's not wrong. Like, Daemon is sitting there with a big ass dragon that everyone's afraid of. And perhaps if you're gonna march on Harrenhal, bring the dragon. Like, it is a douchey request, but it is not incorrect. And this is the key of what's wrong with Aemond as a ruler, which is unless you approach him in the exact right way, you can't be a toady like Larys and suck up to him, but you also can't make demands of him. So there is a very narrow area that Aemond finds acceptable to treat with him, and that's not how you rule, because that's not how it works. So, it was an interesting way to get to the heart of it, because it was that perfect level of like, yeah, the tone was bad, but the content was good, and you ignored the content. And then the same thing with the Triarchy. It's like, everyone's like, look, we hear you. And this was like the flip of it, that Aemond actually has some valid points. Like, the Triarchy's right there. The issue we have is we've got this blockade. All the ships that the Lannisters are building aren't going to get there for a while. Yeah. And the Greyjoys just are leaving our messages unread. Like, they're not even responding to us. So maybe we just have these guys fuck some shit up. But everyone else is like, yeah, that might not go the way we want. And he's like, shut up, y'all. Shut up. So it's like, just across the board, it's bad. And then the way he dismisses his mom, oof. Like, but I mean, what a great scene. I mean, he doesn't even make eye contact with her. Yeah. Like, he is just staring straight ahead, and he's just giving her... yes, the one eye contact, Shannon. He's just staring straight ahead, and she is trying everything she can. And when she finally is like, look, I'm the only temperate voice on this council. And he's like, I'm tired of temperate voices. Like, I don't even need it. And when she looks at him, when she grabs his face and she's like, is it not enough? Like, whatever the line is, but where she says, are your childhood issues, like, have you not revenged them enough at this point? Which contextually, the subtext of that is not even dealing with Team Rhaenyra and the Blacks. It's also like, bitch, I know you burned your brother to a crisp. Like, are we not done yet? Can you just chill the fuck out? And then Alicent kind of goes on this journey of like, I think she's really, take all the politics aside, her entire motivation as a human being, whether it was noble or not, whether it was subversive or not, like, is I'm doing all of this for my family. I am putting my children on the throne. I am doing this for my family. Her dad is MIA. Nobody knows where the fuck he is. Her one son is, burned to a crisp in the bed and can't speak. And her other son is a sociopath who just dismissed her. Like, she's got nobody. So the scene where she goes to talk to her brother is actually, there's some important plot information because her other son, who we've never seen before, what's his name again?
Darren,
yeah. Like he's going to play a part as we move forward, and we've never heard a lot about him. So it's a really good scene to just sort of remind you that there is another son that exists, but also she's looking for any kind of family attachment at all. Like, Criston Cole is off doing his thing. She's literally at this point has nobody, and it's very sad. Like, it's very upsetting. And then when she finds out that her other son is growing up and is kind, and it's like, her brother's very nice to say, well, that's probably not you. I mean, these kids grew up in King's Landing. That's stressful. But she's really feeling like she fucked up as a mom because the only kid she has that's nice is the one she didn't really raise. So as far as Alicent's journey on this episode, and again, this is kind of what I'm talking about, with what John was saying. So the sum of all those parts is Alicent is stuck. Yep. So she's not making any big moves. She's not doing any crazy stuff. And so that is frustrating from a bigger picture of the show moving forward. But from the character work and what Olivia Cooke is doing and all of the pieces of, wow, you did all of this and you have been shoved to the side because you're a woman. It's really sad and it's really heartbreaking. And from a character arc standpoint for her, really, really good, meaty stuff.
Yeah. What about the Larys Aegon stuff, man? Talk about that scene real quick.
I think that Larys is angling. He ditched Alicent. I mean, he was 100%. Like, Alicent and her feet are my way in. And then that didn't go his way. And then he was like, hey, Aegon, you need a hand. And Aegon was like, you're right. Criston Cole's my boy. And he's like, okay. And so then he's like, I'm going to do my shit on Aemond. And Aemond, the problem that Aemond made, everything Aemond said is true. Larys is a toady. He is there is a truth to what Aemond said, and he's just a no bullshit, I don't want to deal with this. The problem is, as Alicent kind of accepted at a certain point, and as any king kind of understands, you sort of need those guys. Yes, he is a toady. Yes, he is sucking up to you. Yes, he is a lickspittle. But if you know that about him, he's still useful. And to call him out like that, that's probably a mistake in the long run. That's an enemy that you don't want. He might be an ally that you don't like, but better to have an ally that you don't like than an enemy that you don't want. And I think that's what he did in that moment. And then Larys going back to Aegon, look, I think everything he says is true. He did have a deformity. People do look at him that way. How much of that was I really get you, Aegon, I want to be besties with you, and how much of it is, now that you're in this position, I can use this to my advantage and get in with you? Right. Probably more of the latter, but not untrue. Yeah. And going to be interesting to see, he's an interesting character because he is exactly what Aemond said he was, but that kind of character, as Rhaenyra is learning on her side of things, those characters that work in the shadows can be pretty useful.
Yeah, 100%. Shannon, your thoughts on this? Alicent's movements. Aemond's also stuck, which is why he's making these moves with the triarchy, why he's kicking out Larys and wanting him to bring in Otto. There's these moves here that he's also making to get himself a little bit unstuck. But then again, it's also at his convenience, everything that's happening. What are your thoughts on everything that happened here on the green side of things?
I mean, again, I enjoyed it when I watched it. Us talking about it is making me enjoy it more. I mean, the amount of quotable statements that they are putting out there that I want to use in my everyday life, hey, I need this done with haste. Using these subtitles when I was watching it, I love every time Aemond would say with haste, it was always in quotes, which I mean is grammatically correct, but it's also really, really funny. The dynamics, yes, awesome. Every time Alicent tries to speak, every time she offers some sage wisdom, Aemond doesn't even regard her. He goes to the next person. And even Criston Cole, who is just the triarchies, do we want them that close to us? And Aemond's, so you should probably get to Harrenhal. It's so our little glimpse of Aemond being king or king regent in the last episode, where he's like, cut down the rat catchers. Like, it's like, oh, okay. Aemond is very decisive. Maybe he's gonna be okay. Looking at Alicent's face, you know that's not gonna be the case. Right. But then watching this is like, he's already, you can't reason with him. Like, he is smart, but he's also, the way Vogel was putting it, like, you have to approach him in the right way to get him to do what you want. So it's like, you have to approach him honestly, but you also have to speak your mind. Because the moment that you kind of waffle, he's like, nah, not listening to you. So I thought that whole scene was fascinating. Getting over to the next scene after Rhaenyra, the people are starting to revolt a little bit, and it's Lord Wild who's just kind of like, hey, you know, the small folk are getting restless, and his all like, that's not our fault. Yeah, like, this is it's Rhaenyra's blockade. It's not me. And when Larys makes that play, again, focusing on the supporting cast, because there are the characters that we talk about every week. This one, that Lord Wild, the actor playing, and who his name is Paul Kennedy, Lord Jasper Ironrod Wild, as Larys is making that pitch to be the hand. You had, there was this slight like, oh, this guy. And at the end, when he calls him, when it's like, all right, I'm going to leave that responsibility to you. Like, oh, what an honor. I never would have thought. He's like, you're not going to be the hand. Like, you reach out to Otto, you can see this slight smirk on that guy's face. That was just so beautifully shot. Again, these scenes with our supporting cast, and again, it just talks about the strength of the actors that they're using, like, so enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, Alicent's that scene with Aegon, I mean, it was heartbreaking. I mean, when she said, I'm sorry, she is apologizing for so many things. Right. And it's like, it could be one of them, it could be all of them. Like, I'm sorry I didn't raise you better. I'm sorry I got you in this situation, which again, especially in the comments, like, people talk about like, this usurping was going to happen regardless, but she is taking some responsibility for it. Like, she was the one who said Viserys changed his mind. So, Olivia Cook is just doing dynamite work. And also, I found out on Twitter, not wearing a wig. Like, she has extensions, but a lot of that is her hair. So it's like,
that's her hair.
She got a beautiful head of hair.
By the way, the second that I think I found that out like 2 episodes ago. And when I tell you that every time she's on screen, I'm just staring at her hair now, going like, God damn that hair.
All right, Shannon, any more on this? Larys and Aegon's interaction? Anything you want to chime in on that?
I mean, the Aemond Aegon scene, fantastic. Right. I mean, Aegon literally saying, like, I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Like, whatever you're going to do, don't do this. And yeah, the Larys Aegon scene, like, Larys almost seems like, okay, you have your mind, and your mind is the thing you have to make strong. And like, going back to Tyrion, like, we see these characters who are physically compromised, and what they have to rely on, like Larys, Tyrion, it's you have to get smarter, and whether or not Aegon's going to get that chance.
Yeah, well, Aegon is the guy that got rid of all of his dad's books, so this is going to require a big shift for him.
He removed them. He didn't burn them, Mike, as he said.
I think the key to what we saw in all these scenes here is what has been kind of coursing through in a real subtle way throughout the whole, and sometimes overt way, depending on how you look at it in the last few episodes, is this idea of past trauma. I think Alicent puts hangs a lantern on it when she's like, as Michael pointed out, have you not revenged enough? Have you not gotten your satisfaction? Everyone in this place so far is driven by the mistakes of their youth or their past, right? Alicent questioning herself as a mother all throughout this section, to where Gawain's having the conversation with her. And, Michael always takes a much more favorable view of Alicent. I do not. I think she was clearly running out to go, Cristen, can we fix things again? Because I need somebody here to talk to me. And Gawain calls her out. Clearly knows what she's doing. He's making that look. And then she runs to him and fabricates this need. And what about you? Can you help me? Because she's got no friends in King's Landing, but she kind of did it to herself. So this whole idea of her desperately needing these connections, but her revealing this fear of she's been a terrible mother, which is of course part of her youth, right? That's all coursing throughout this whole thing. And Aemond as well. Aemond wanting to avenge all these things. Larys speaking about his youth to Aegon, talking about the trauma of that, and that's what has molded him and turned him into this person you see now. So there's just a lot of that coursing through these interactions and these scenes, and that's going to be the foundation of why they do the things that they do and the actions that they take over the next 2 episodes. You've got to see it through those prisms that they are working out a lot of their old shit from when they were kids, and how many people, including me, I'll fully put myself, still do that in our lives. So I thought that was an interesting angle to take as you're watching these scenes.
But Johnny, what did you think of Alicent's hair?
I love her. I love her as an actress. So Olivia Cook, rather. So whenever she pops up in anything, I love her hair, especially in Ready Player One. I was a big fan of her hair. So big stuff, big good stuff. But I don't trust Larys as much in his interactions. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that is true, how much of it isn't. And when Aegon finds out possibly how much of that is true, how much of it isn't, will be interesting to see as well. And listen, the Grand Maester is in a shitty position. I feel so bad for Grand Maester Orwell, I think his name is, because he's like, I'm trying to navigate, I'm trying to heal the king, but I want to piss off the regent. And then again, the mom isn't. So like my man is dancing on electricity right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what his end result is. Oh, we lost Michael.
We just lost Vogel.
We lost Vogel. I talked too long, baby. All right, well, that's perfect. Let's take a break, and we're going to move on to the blacks here right after this.
Do 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 do.
Well, he's not back yet, but we'll move on to the blacks since you're going to take first stab at this anyway. And when he comes back, we'll put Michael back on. But the blacks here, Rhaenyra's dragon pairing goes to shit here with Sir Steffon Shannon. Sir Steffon Darkland, rule of thumb, never say you've done something before you've actually done it. It never leads to a positive result. But Rhaenyra is restless as well, and even slaps, as I mentioned, Lord Celtigar for questioning her and says, I think you guys have forgotten how to fear me. Then she launches a plot with Mysaria to sow dissent there amongst the small folk. First, they send in the whispers and conversations about, hey, look at the fat cats eating while we are starving and have no food. And then later, she sends hundreds of ships or 100 ships full of food here. So they grab that food. It becomes a riot in essence. Hugh gets involved, knocks out somebody for food, and then they turn on Alicent and Helena after having like feted them when they walk through the streets for the funeral of Jaehaerys. How quickly people can turn on you. And then she begins a romance with Mysaria after they one-up each other about their misery and how they grew up and the things that they experienced. Fascinating stuff. Did not see that coming until halfway through this episode when they were on that ledge looking at each other longingly. I was like, wait, what is happening here? And then it happened. But then we see Corlys accepting being Hand of the King and wants Alan to be his first mate. Alan, we see, shaves off his white hair because he doesn't want to be seen as Corlys' son, much to Addam, his brother's chagrin, who thinks he should use that to angle his way to be an heir to Driftmark. Addam is later on the seashore where we've seen him before, and he's freaking out because Seasmoke, the dragon, is flying around, essentially chases him down into the forest there. He thinks he's going to be lunch, but it seems like as we hear the news to Rhaenyra that Seasmoke has found a new rider, it seems like Addam is that rider. And then the last part of this is young Rhaena is reluctant to hunt down the wild dragon in the Vale because she has found out that Lady Jane Eyre has been lying to her. So I wonder if she's going to send the kids to Pentos and go with them, or she's going to send the kids ahead and she's going to stay and try to hook up with the dragon. We shall see. I think we've got Michael back, I think, possibly. So there we go. There he is. All right, you're back. So, yeah.
I don't know what happened.
All right. Shannon, your thoughts on all the stuff with the blacks, and Michael, I'll give you the cue as well once we get to your side of it. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, Sir Steffon, he was the one that went with Rhaenyra to the set, right?
Yeah.
So the beginning of this scene, again, I can't say enough about Steve Toussaint as a performer and doing a whole lot while not doing very much. Like you see him in that chamber with the table with all the candles and sort of kind of taking in the lay of the land and then putting on, like, looking at the task ahead of him.
Yeah.
And then he puts on that pin. And it's sort of like that's him accepting, like, all right, this is what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
And as the small council arrives, there's just this, for me, there was just this feeling of, all right, we have a plan. Let's talk about it. And as they introduce the knights, Sir Stephen, even or Steffon, even as Rhaenyra is doing this pitch, like the moment that she says, like, Rhaenys is gone, Meleys is gone, there's that quick cut over to Corlys, and you see just has his head down, like, just so, for me at least, that was just so powerful. But even as she's making this pitch, her enthusiasm is winning against her logic. Like, I think she knows this is not going to work. But I'm trying to be as positive as I can. And Sir Steffon he is the Westerosi version of Henry Thomas. Like, anytime he pops up, all I see is Elliot grown up.
Oh, wow. Really? I like that.
But as he takes in this pitch and just saying, like, look, you've given me this tremendous honor. The dragons are gods. You see an opportunistic glint in his eye of, like, oh, I'm going to become a dragon rider who's not really a Targaryen. Like, you see that wanting something that he's never been able, that genetically he's never been able to attain.
Yeah.
And so the whole scene as Seasmoke approaches, like, we all know it's not like, this ain't gonna go well. Like, it's too early in the episode. This is going to go poorly. And so as Seasmoke kind of bows his head, and the moment that he says, I did it, again, that was like, that's the hubris right there.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, not yet. And maybe if he had not succumbed to that self-satisfaction, maybe Seasmoke doesn't rise up and then, charbroil him. And I thought it was so interesting, the choice for the one dragon keeper, that as he is burning, to take the knife out and cut his throat. Like, not screaming, kind of like, this is what they are trained to do. Like, if you get bathed in dragon fire, there's going to be a dagger on your hip, grab it, slit your throat, because that's going to be a better way to leave.
Yeah. The
plan of sending this food in, like, Mysaria is one of those characters that I always was kind of like, all right, come on, let's go. I'm getting more into her story every week. Like, she's becoming more and more interesting as she has formed this partnership with Rhaenyra. Yeah. And the whole idea that Rhaenyra is even counting her son, like, I don't know if I can win this. Like, I don't have anybody. And that moment that Mysaria is kind of like, hey, you have me. When you're looking for any port in the storm, sometimes the safety of that port can manifest some romantic feelings. And it's like, to me, that kiss totally made sense. It's like, oh, finally, I've got someone, I've got something to hold on to. Everything with Corlys's bastard sons, with Alan and Addam, I think is awesome, because it didn't really occur to me that Addam would also have been a son of Corlys. Like, I was thinking maybe this was a half-brother situation, but to know that Corlys went to this woman twice and had 2 kids while he was married to Rhaenys, it's like, ooh, okay, there is some fertile ground here for storytelling. And the whole idea of him shaving that white hair off, that Valyrian white hair off, I was like, again, just great storytelling. The moment where Seasmoke chases down Addam. What a great scene. Like, being buzzed by a fighter jet. Like, you see the chaos that goes along, the physical toll that takes on the land around you. It's really exciting to watch. But then as you see Seasmoke approach and Addam start to calm down, it's like, oh, that's right. Seasmoke's rider was this guy's half-brother.
Yes.
So introducing the concept that the reason the Targaryens are the dragon riders are because the Targaryens are the only ones ever presented to these dragons. And it's that crack in the Targaryen foundation, which I think is so fascinating. In watching the preview for the following episode, the the wrench in the wheel that has thrown. The idea that, oh, potentially anybody could do this. It's sort of like what they tried to do in the sequel trilogy with the Force. Like, someone could...
Don't open that. Don't open that.
It could come from anywhere. But Addam wanting more in life and this being his opportunity, I think is awesome. And again, for someone who doesn't know where the story is going, it's very exciting.
Okay, Michael, your thoughts here on what happens with the Blacks, with Rhaenyra and the pairing, and then, slapping a lord, the plot with Mysaria, making out with Mysaria, and then Corlys and of course Rhaenyra as well, getting mad at Lady Rhaenyra for hiding the dragon there in the Vale.
Well, I mean, I think with Rhaenyra, it's, the parallels between her and Alicent are really, really clear. I mean, yes, Rhaenyra is the boss, but she's a boss that everybody doesn't listen to the point that she has to slap somebody and be like, I'm the fucking queen. Like, so she gets to do that where Alicent doesn't, but both of them are like, I can't do anything. We have both been put in these positions and we are both stuck. I think Shannon, about the whole scene with Rhaenyra and Mysaria at the end, is dead on. Like, she has this one person who believes in her, and not a person who's like, I believe in you if you can get Daemon over here. I believe in you if you can figure this out. She's just like, you listened to me when nobody else did. You listened to my plan about the Smallfolk. You might not fully care about the Smallfolk, but you're the only one out of anyone right now who's even thinking about the Smallfolk. Even if you're thinking about them in terms of strategy, you're still thinking about them. So the fact that Mysaria is like, yep, I'm your ride or die, bad boys for life. Like, yeah, Rhaenyra is like, fuck, finally somebody. And I think that moment totally, even though it kind of came out of nowhere, the acting in that moment was legit. The scene between them was legit. So that moment felt super earned, and it totally made sense. As far as poor Sir Steffon, I think Shannon is right. Like, he had that, like, as far as like a Kingsguard goes, he had that right thing of like just schlubby enough that you're like, I don't think you got this, buddy. Like, I don't think you got this one. And the moment, like, I actually had him, like, he was walking and Seasmoke kind of came in and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is gonna go okay. Maybe I was, and the second that he was like, I did it, I was like, oh, you fucked, buddy. You fucked. I do, and then as far as Alan and Addam, is that right? Alan and Addam. I'm with Shannon. It didn't occur to me that he had to shave every day to hide that hair. Like, it didn't. So I thought that little and I love that it's not set. Like, it's presented to you and you're like, oh yeah. That really didn't really realize that. And I do think the two of them are super interesting. I'm not opening the can of worms, as opposed to what they tried to do in The Last Jedi. I mean, there is still a Targaryen / like Valyrian blood. Like, Targaryens are the main ones who have sort of claimed we're the dragon folk, but anyone who has that Valyrian blood is tied to the bigger thing. And even some of the people that we haven't seen get on dragons yet, who are probably going to be getting on dragons, have that Valyrian blood in them. So there still is sort of some rule. It's not like just anybody can start hopping dragons, but Shannon's 100% right that it opens the cracks, because the Targaryen, like, Rhaenyra is doing something in the same way, very different and much smarter, but in the same way that it was super dumb for Sir Cristen to drag Meleys's head through King's Landing, because it took away the mystery and sort of the majesty of the dragons, which is what the Targaryens have going for them. Rhaenyra opening up this can of worms and being like, so these are the other people that can ride dragons, in the long run doesn't go great for the Targaryens. Like, that's not good. You really want everyone to believe this is our thing and no one else can do it. So the second that you're like, oh, so-and-so over here and so-and-so over here, they're good too. Like, it's not good. Even if it's necessary right now. What I really liked about the Addam moment is, earlier in the season, there was that one moment where Addam was, I think, like, picking crabs. And then like Seasmoke was hovering overhead, and we're like, oh, that's an interesting moment because you see this thing. Didn't even occur to me at that point in time, because I didn't know where it was going, that Seasmoke, this wasn't like out of nowhere. Like, Seasmoke for a while has been like, hey, babe, I'm over here waiting. Just call me when you're ready. And then finally, when Sir Steffon showed up, Seasmoke was like, all right, fuck it. I'm done with this shit. I'm going to get my new rider myself. And it was a thrilling scene. I mean, again, they were saying in the after thing how expensive all the dragon shots are. And, you know, for a show that like really features a lot more dragons than Game of Thrones did, those shots are a lot. And they really made the most of it in this sequence. Like that dragon chase was pretty thrilling to watch.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile with Rhaenyra, I think this is a whole other interesting piece of the puzzle because they made such a big deal out of the fact that like she just didn't bond with the dragons that are there. And that kind of, you know, when you're on Team Black, that's kind of a failure when you're one of the few that can do it. But the idea that now there's this wild dragon in the picture, which is literally a wild card. Like everyone thinks they know which dragons they have and who has what dragons and what dragons are accounted for. And Team Green thinks, well, even though there's these other dragons, they don't have riders, and that's going to be changed. And now Rhaenyra, I'm assuming, is going to get this wild dragon. So a lot of interesting dragon movement for the House of the Dragons show, which is leading to what we all hope is just some massive dragon battling, the likes of which we've never seen.
Yeah, Rhaenyra is the Mirabelle of the family Black there.
She is a little bit. She is the Mirabelle. Like, it's like, you got no power.
She's a late bloomer in that way. Yeah, look, again, what we stressed earlier, the stuck situation. Clearly, Rhaenyra, and this is bleeding over from last episode, she is just frustrated that she has all these expectations and she's stuck. Look, everybody wants to rule, but not a lot of people like it once they get to the top. It kind of sucks because you just spend a lot of time having to maintain that rule, and then you can't do the things that got you to power because you don't need to do them anymore, and they look like, and you're undercutting your power by doing it. So Rhaenyra is in that kind of stuck place. So I like that she is launching the PR war. I think that's really smart with the Smallfolk. Mysaria's suggestions really smart. What happens there? We see Ulf and the lady who ran the brothel, who is with Aemond, by the way. Remember that and the girl that was raped by Aegon. They're the ones starting that kind of conversation. Look at the fat cats eating it up while we suffer. Those cart of sheep go by, which even adds to the frustration, and then sending in the food. And that scene, and it's a really scary scene, seeing Alicent and Helena run from the rabbit folk, seeing one of the soldiers cut off the arm of one of the guys who's holding Alicent. Like it is a madhouse. And the thing is, you can win all those battles. If you lose the people, you are fucked. So the fact that they are using this, I think, is a really smart move. And I'm curious to see how it's all going to turn out on that side of things. And then on the Corlys side of things, Addam and Alan, you guys have said it all really well. I just want to throw in the fact that Addam is constantly telling Alan, look, you need to embrace this shit. You can be the heir of Driftmark. You know, you could be living this life of luxury. Now that Addam is riding a dragon, the power has shifted here in their relationship. Addam, as we've seen in other families, when another brother wants something and he's the younger brother, stuff can go on. So I wonder what the Addam and Alan situation is going to lead to. And it's not a guarantee that he stays with the Blacks. He could take Seasmoke to the Greens if they offer him more. So I don't know, as I haven't read too far into the books, what's going to happen in the story, but I like that little dissension between them bubbling under the surface, because there is a nobility to Addam. Him shaving his head, or Alan rather, him shaving his head is his way of saying, I want to make my own way in the world. I don't want to rely on my father who turned me into a bastard in order to achieve my success. So I like that nobility part of him. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as we go forward. So I'm so curious on all of that. And of course, Rhaenyra, I think when she gets her dragon, it's going to be an awesome moment. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump into the Daemon stuff over there at Harrenhal right after this. Okay, let's go. Daemon at Harrenhal, Vogel. Visions of Viserys. Paddy Considine coming back to reprise the role there of Viserys as Daemon keeps reliving the bad old days, the time his brother removed him from the line of succession because he made that crack about his son dying after a day, heir for a day. Then the time his brother had to let his wife Aemond die. And we see what we did not see in the first season, and that is Daemon comforting his brother and holding his brother as his brother cried. It was great to see Paddy Considine back here. And then we see that he is emotional. He's crying when he gets woken up. By the way, Sir Simon Strong keeps showing up after all these fucking visions. That son of a bitch is doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. It's too much a coincidence that he keeps coming home. And he always has those faces like, that's going down, man.
That's just his face. That's just his face.
I don't know. There's something. He never seems to be too intimidated by him. He knows how to play Daemon. But Daemon and then Alys have their interactions. Daemon, who, as we've said, he's stuck. He's frustrated. He wants to go to the Tullys and essentially browbeat them and bully them into supporting him. Alys says, calm it down. Sit down for a second. Let's talk about this. Maybe the people who want to rule so much shouldn't rule. He's like, don't lecture me. And she's like, just give it 3 days time. Things will change. Well, we find out she has gone over to help Grover Tully die. And then Oscar Tully now is taken over. And that's who Daemon is now going to interact with. So fascinating stuff. Michael, your thoughts? Although it's a little distracting from the main storylines, but what are your thoughts about what happened here? And where do you feel the storyline is going?
Thank God Matt Smith is as good as he is, because I do agree that at this point we're all like, okay, we get it. Daemon's got fucking issues about his fucking family. Cool. But Matt Smith is so good. Getting Patty Constantine back, definitely a treat. Like, even in the little bit that he's there, it's just, I got a soft spot for that old guy. I love Viserys. Like, he might not have been the most dynamic queen, but I love that man. So seeing it all play out, I do think what's interesting is, whereas most of Daemon's visions have either been very much like, hey, you're an asshole, or his mom being like, all surrounding, you should be king, you should be king, you should be king. When it comes to his brother, we do see this other side of him. So if we are going to dive into these visions, which I think we're all happy seem to be coming to an end, it is interesting that these two visions are a bit more of the softer side of Daemon. Yeah. Almost as if he's been slowly being broken down to what Alys wants him to be, to the point where she can deal with him. Because as much as I was talking about the parallels between Alicent and Rhaenyra and where they're at, I mean, look, Aemond and Daemon, strong parallels as well. Both of them are brash. Both of them are ambitious. Both of them want something for the want of it, not because it's the right thing to do. John is right. I am a little bit kinder to Alicent than he is. I still believe that Alicent, until the moment that she was in the sept with Rhaenyra a few episodes ago, fully thought she was doing what she thought was right, even if she ended up doing some shitty things to get there. But Aemond and Daemon don't really care about the right of it. They just care about, I want to get what I want. And Aemond currently won't listen to anybody, and Daemon is also someone who really wouldn't listen to anybody. He wouldn't listen to Rhaenyra until Alys has systematically broken him down by fucking him up with witchcraft or whatever the fuck is going on, to the point where he's now ready to listen to her. Like, as the first, like, he's like, okay, well, I need help. Fine. What do you got? What should I do? Like, it's the first time he's ever asked for counsel, which she remarks upon. And I also think the interesting thing, like the thing that she says, which I think is just sort of, Alys gets to say the theme of all of Game of Thrones. All of Game of Thrones, all of House of the Dragon, which is the people that want the thing usually aren't the right ones to have the thing. Yeah. The ones that get the thing, it's a burden. It's something you don't want. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of work. It kind of sucks. And you do your best with what you've been given. The people that are doing anything in the world and killing anybody and doing whatever they can to get it, once they get it, they're probably not the right one for the job. I mean, that really is, that George R.R. Martin was sitting around one day, however many years ago, and was like, I think people who want to be king shouldn't be. And then he wrote all of this shit. So Alys got to say it. So that was nice. And yeah, then I love Alys being like, hey, just don't do anything for 3 days. It's gonna be fine. And then goes over and kills the guy like that. And when good old Simon Strong, just middle management to the end, kind of goes, oh well, this happened. Alys went over and tried to help him, but it wasn't enough, and he's dead. Daemon was like, my girl did what she said she was gonna do. Like, we good. So even when you look at the previews for next week, now little Oscar Tully is ready to come in. And who knows where he's going to go, but Daemon having to work with a little kid is going to be something to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust that boy's faces. Simon was like, he saw him smiling, and Simon was like, I know what you did, you son of a bitch. And then rolled on out of there. So, I don't trust that guy at all. But Shannon, your thoughts on on Daemon's visions and his work with Alys Rivers, which to me is very much our Stannis, Baratheon, and Melisandre. What are your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, I think agreed. As an audience, we all want to see Daemon get back in the action.
Yeah.
But in terms of the visions that he got, these I really liked because it's been about revisiting kind of the sins of his past. And when we see Viserys, Paddy Considine in the distance, and Daemon realizes I have to revisit one of the most painful moments I've ever experienced when my brother said, "You are not my heir."
Right.
Not only does he have to relive that, but he sees it from a different point of view. He maybe fully understands, yes, this was taken away from me. Look what I did to justify it.
Yeah.
Look at this horrible thing that I said. Right. And I think Alys, I don't know if it was this episode or the previous episode, she talked about the fact that Daemon wasn't there for Viserys. Mm-hmm. And he revisits that memory. Or I guess he wouldn't have been there when Aemond died. But
right,
he goes over and comforts Viserys, which I thought was such a touching scene. It's that opportunity to get one last word in with a loved one, where he made the wrong decision the first time. This time he's making the right decision.
Yeah.
And I thought in terms of character growth, I thought it was fantastic. And in terms of just scene work, I was like, man, that's really, really touching to see that he does have the capacity for good. It takes a witch in a haunted castle to get it out of him, but he does have the capacity for good. But now knowing that he has to go over with Oscar Tully and his, River Run trash can, I'll be very curious to see whether this goodness takes root in Daemon, or if it's like, all right, kid, give me your guys. I got to go do a thing.
Yeah, we all go on vacation. We all go on our retreats. We all go on these things that we think we're coming back. We're gonna have a better spirit, we got better points of view. I'm not gonna be an asshole to that guy at work who's such an asshole. And then you get back to work, and like a few days later, it's all back into the same rhythm. So
this time things are gonna be different.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it, as Beck said in that song "Loser." But I'm throwing this up there because Michael sent us a version of this meme, and I saw a version of this meme for Sir Simon Strong here from, I think, last episode. What would you call the husband, the queen, the king, Daemon? There it is. Then Pimp. I love it, man. I want him. I want to see what role that guy is playing in all of this. I'm really, really curious to see.
I think he is just getting by. He knows that Harrenhal. He's made his peace with, I basically live in a haunted house and it is what it is. And when Daemon comes running in looking like he's just coming down off of like a 3-day coke bender and starts yelling and screaming at him, it's like you get the sense from Simon Strong, it's like, this isn't the first time somebody has come to his castle and gone on a 3-day coke bender. So he's like, what's going on, buddy? Damon's like, You're behind it all. It's like, okay, we've all had that friend who had that wild night and just started saying shit, and you're just like, okay, let's just get you some sleep and we can talk about this in the morning.
I agree. Or slapping people. We all had that wild friend who slaps people. Yeah.
Sometimes your friend needs to get slapped. Your friend needs to get slapped.
Yeah, or punches people in the balls. We all have had that friend who's gone a little crazy at night. We know. But yeah, we'll see what happens with all of that. I'm curious. And the visions, I don't know what the visions mean, because when he comes out of them, you don't see Daemon go, oh my God, the things I've done. And there's no self-reflection. So although the crying is there, I want to see what it's going to lead to. And this is an interesting place to put Daemon in emotionally, because here comes Criston Cole and Gawain. Here comes the Lannisters from the other side with fucking lions for some reason. So you've got this situation here. Are they going to find a rattled Daemon who is not sure where he stands, or are they going to find a reborn Daemon with Alys Rivers by his side? So I'm so curious. And Simon Strong doing whatever he's going to do to fuck with people. So I kind of am looking forward to it. All right, well, there you go. I think we covered everything. Let's get some final words. Shannon, your final words on this episode, brothers, we wrap up.
I mean, again, like, I understand that it was not the most dynamic episode, but especially after this conversation, I really enjoyed it more than I did the first 2 times that I watched it. And as a harbinger for what's to come, I can't wait to see a CGI lion run into battle and have a dragon just go whap. and immediately take it out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Michael, your final thoughts on this episode as we wrap up here, brother man?
Yeah, I think, look,
we missed. Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, I don't think we missed anything. I think, it's like I said, when we say that an episode of House of the Dragon is a little disappointing or we're ready for it to move on, as has been evidenced by this conversation, a lot still goes on, and the performances and everything about it is still top tier. So I think this was a ton of fun. I think there are one, possibly two people that I'm just kind of like, okay, I think we get where this is going. Let's get them on some dragons. And I don't know when that's going to happen. But aside from that, I think most of the pieces have been moved to where they need to get to have some shit go down. I mean, it looks like things at Harrenhal are going to get resolved in one direction or another. Daemon's going to be back in the action. We've got another dragon in play, at least one, maybe two, depending on how fast they move things with Rhaenyra. Yeah. And everybody in King's Landing is pissed at Aemond. So a lot of things going. Where's Otto Hightower? Is Otto coming back? What's going on with Otto? I don't know. I'm excited. Like, that man can come in. You think Sir Simon Strong looks like a pimp. Otto's showing up to being like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Is something I really want to see after his little staycation in Palm Springs or wherever he went, coming back in, be like, I'm rested and I'm ready. So yeah, I mean, it's so funny with a Game of Thrones show, when you get to that second to last episode, like, you get hyped. And so I'm pretty hyped for where we're going to be next Sunday night, as we get back from a few days at Comic-Con. Yeah, Comic-Con, right. Otto the White is going to show up at the turning of the tide. So we will see when all that goes down. Yeah,
the white is in reference to his knuckles.
To his knuckles, right? Yeah, exactly. And we'll see what Darren does as the young prince there. But this is fascinating. Real quick, I like the shifting power dynamics within each of these factions, right? Because now it's Rhaenyra. She has great sons. She has people who want to serve her. She does have restless lords, but mostly because they want to kind of take the battle to them. But she's the one that might make the impulsive decisions. And certainly starting this relationship with Mysaria is going to be fascinating to see what fruit it yields, but also what obstacles they are going to have to overcome in this relationship. Because I think Mysaria has filled that hole that Alicent left and Daemon has left in her life. Like, she has a friend, a counselor, and a romantic partner. So it's going to be interesting how much that influences Rhaenyra. And then the other side, Alicent, who is the much more stable here, understanding the situation, trying to move people in a position to be the best versions of the Greens they can. No one's listening to her. So will Otto coming back change that? So it's all going to be really fascinating as we go into the next episode.
Think just I know we got to go, but real quick on that one. I mean, they're clearly setting Rhaenyra. All Rhaenyra has said the entire season is, I want to go fight on my dragon. I want to go fight on my dragon. Yeah. And when Rhaenyra's holding that sword and Mysaria says, that looks good on you. I mean, I think Rhaenyra has a lot of her dad in her, which is, let me listen to everybody. Let me hear the counsel. Let me do this. Yeah. I think both Rhaenyra and Alicent are on a road to no fucks given. I'm going to do what I want to do. And when the two of them are unleashed, I think it's going to be wild. So I think that's kind of where we're headed.
Two fantastic actors to see that going down as well. All right, well, there you go. That's our spoiler review for episode 6 of season 2 of House of the Dragon, Smallfolk. Thank you all so much for joining us, whether you're listening to us or watching us. We appreciate it madly. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, I'd like to follow us on social media. On Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, it's Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at the Rocha Says.
Mikey?
Go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Leave your comments below. What did you think of this episode? Was it too slow? Was it too fast? Was it just right? Let us know. Where do you think things are going for the penultimate episode? If you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings there. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your social, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. Thanks so much for joining us. And remember, we got more content coming up this week. Pay attention to that. We'll certainly have some Comic-Cons to conversations come as well. So look forward to that from us here on the
Geek
Buddies.